Welcome to Street TV. You're with Alex Alonso, and I'm here to bring you a synopsis of Megan Thee Stallion's testimony when she was on cross-examination. Now, I already did a video of when she was on direct examination, and the link in the description is to that video and all the other videos I've done on the Tory Lanez trial. But this video is going to be specific to her cross-examination, and let's get it going. Let's get it underway. Now, the first thing that the defense attorney said that was he had some tough questions to ask Megan because she went through at least 3 or 4 points of emotional outbursts during her direct examination. So the defense said, "Hey, I got to ask some tough questions, giving her a little warning ahead of time." And he said, he asked, you were at Kylie Jenner's house with stylist EJ on July 12th, and then after you were pulled over by the police, and you were questioned at the curb. And she said that she did not remember. You were questioned in the ambulance. She says, "I do not remember." Now, they have ambulance footage from the body cameras from one of the police officers that was in the ambulance. You were questioned in the hospital. And she said yes on that question. You decided to make a statement 4 days later about getting shot. And she said yes. Now, you spoke to Detective Stogner. Yes, that conversation occurred over the phone, and she said yes. Did you have your representatives on the phone, an attorney named Spiro and Desiree from Rock Nation? She said yes. You gave another interview with the district attorney in November of 2020. Yes. Then you gave one on Gail King to tell the world what happened. Yes. Were you truthful? She said yes. That was the vague question. He didn't ask, were you truthful to any of these specific interviews, just in general, I guess. She said yes. Did you say you were arguing? Yes, me and Tory were angry. On Gail King, did you say you did not want to argue? Yes. Did you tell Gail King that Tory Lanez offered you money? I don't remember. When asked about a sexual relationship with Tory on Gail King, you lied. Yes. You lied to prosecutors in 2020. Yes. You lied on Gail King in 2022. Yes. Did you tell Gail King that you actually invited Tory Lanez to Kylie Jenner's house? She said probably not. And she is correct. She mentioned nothing about the invitation of Tory Lanez to Kylie Jenner's. And I would tap in on that Gail King interview of Megan Thee Stallion, even if you've seen it before, because there's so much more information now. And watching that Gail King interview is going to be more. You'll have a whole different view of it when you take in all the information from the testimonies. And make sure you tap into all my videos from day 1 through day 5 of this trial. And we're going to go into day 6 later today. When you invited him over, did you text him or FaceTime? And she said probably both. What time did Tory Lanez arrive? Late. Well, how long were you there before he arrived? About 5 hours, she said. How much drinking had you done by that time? This was a hilarious answer because she said just a little bit. Well, how many shots? He went straight to it. Well, how many shots did you have? Take a guess. What was her answer? After she said a little bit, she said she had 6 shots. So we know it's going to be more than 6. If they were drinking for, let's say, 6 hours, 7 hours, it was more than 6 cocktails or 6 shots. But I mean, 6 is still a lot. When Tory arrived, did you go outside to let him in? No. Well, how did he get into the house? I guess someone let him in. And this is where we're starting to see a little bit of tension between the defense attorney doing his cross-examination and Megan Thee Stallion. There's a little bit of conflict starting to It's right on the surface. It's bubbling right now during that question. Well, where was Kelsey at this time? I don't know. Well, was she drunk? Yes. And we learned later that when Kelsey and Megan arrived with EJ, Kylie gave them a room in the house, and this was a room where they put their luggage, their bags, and they were able to change clothes. So we learned later that Kelsey went back into that room and passed out. Did Tory Lanez have to take shots to get into the house? She said, I don't know. That question came up because if you listen to the phone call that Tory Lanez made to Kelsey from jail, and the prosecution is calling this the apology call, he is apologizing to Kelsey about what happened that night, and he's blaming it on the alcohol. He said, I was drunk. Megan's probably not going to forgive me. When I got to Kylie's house, they made me take shots. He said I think he said they made me take 5 shots at the front door before I can get in. And that's why he asked that question. Were you pretty drunk? And she actually said no. Did you tell prosecutors that you were laughing so hard because you were drunk? And then she said probably. And it's pretty clear. It's no doubt. There's no doubt in anybody's mind that's following this case, that's in this courtroom, that's watching this trial, that Megan was extremely intoxicated. Unfortunately, we don't have blood alcohol content test. I don't think they did a blood alcohol content test when they were arrested, but it's clear everybody was drunk. Tory, Kelsey, and Megan. Actually, the only person that wasn't drunk was Quan. Quan was on his point. He was on point. He was the driver, and he actually never went inside the house. He stayed in the car the whole time. He stayed outside the house. So Quan was the only one not drinking. Were you ready to go home at some point? Yes. What time was it? And actually, well, let me finish this part. Were you ready to go home? She says yes. What time was it? I don't know. You said you wanted to leave because your hair or your wig was falling off. Yes. Now, this is partially true, but she actually never wanted to leave. And EJ was telling her because she was so drunk that it was time to go, Megan. It's time to go. And she did not want to leave, and it was time to go. But then once EJ said, something's going on with your hair or your wig, and we learned this through testimony from Kelsey Harris, it is at that point where Megan decides, okay, it's time to go. And then the defense attorney says or asks, didn't EJ say it's time to leave? And she said no. Wasn't EJ waiting? Yes. So at this point, you would expect that EJ is about to drive Megan and Kelsey back home. This is what you would expect to happen. But then the defense attorney asks, why didn't you leave with EJ? Well, they established that she left with Tory's driver Quan. They left with Tory's driver Quan, but we're trying to figure out how did we get to that point of leaving with Tory's driver Quan. So the defense attorney was asking, well, why didn't you leave with EJ if Tory didn't want to leave? And she really didn't have an answer. And then she said that EJ had left and she didn't want to leave with him. And then the defense attorney asked, did you have an agreement that you were ready, when you were ready to leave, that you were going to leave with Tory? Was that previously established that you guys were going to leave, Megan and Kelsey were going to leave with Tory? And then the attorney had to ask the question again. I think she was just trying to buy some time, trying to delay. So he asked it again, and then her answer was no, that there was no agreement. Wasn't EJ waiting to take you home? Didn't he have your luggage in his car? Apparently there's a luggage and a bag. And weren't these items in EJ's car? Yes. At this time, where was the luggage? Were your bags still in EJ's car, or did somehow those bags went from EJ's car into Tory's? And she said that and he asked that because if Tory didn't want to leave and EJ's there available to take you, why would you take the bags out of EJ's car and put them into Tory's car? You wanted to leave with Tory, right? And your bags were in EJ's car. And she's being very evasive, not really answering these questions. Did you put your luggage in Tory's car before? Yes, EJ put bags in Tory's car. So apparently when it was outside of Kylie's house, Megan told EJ, we're going to leave with Tory. Take our bags and put them into Tory's car. But Tory had no intentions of leaving and didn't even know this was going on because he's inside the house with Kylie in the swimming pool, and Megan is trying to quarterback the whole thing, telling EJ, get our bags and put them into Quan's car. Quan is the driver, basically Tory's car. Why didn't you just leave with EJ? Well, first, did you put the luggage in Tory's car before? Yes. Why didn't you just leave with EJ? Because I didn't want to leave with EJ, she says. And then the defense attorney is asking, well, why not? Why didn't you want to leave with EJ? And she's saying, because I didn't want to leave with EJ. And then the defense attorney asked, well, is this the first time you're actually ever saying this? And she said yes, because she made previous statements, and this is all, we're learning new information while she's testifying. And then he asked, well, didn't you get in the car with Kelsey and Quan and leave? And she said no. So she's basically denying that they got into the car and left without Tory and then came back when Megan made up an excuse and told the driver, I left my slipper at Kylie's house. So she's denying that part it ever happened. Did you tell anyone that you left and came back? No, I don't remember. So now she's explaining who was sitting where. Tory was in the back seat. Quan is driving. Kelsey is sitting in the back seat. She's in the front. And then we finally learn who EJ is. EJ is a stylist, but his name, and I don't have the correct spelling, it's Eric Culverson. So did Kylie say at some point that it was time for you guys to leave? And she said, no, that didn't happen. Tory Lanez didn't want to leave. And then you guys had an argument. You and Tory were arguing. And then Kelsey is backing you up in the argument against Tory. And then at some point, did Tory Lanez say, why are you backing up Megan to Kelsey? I don't remember, she says. So this is really the first argument in the car. And it's all about Tory not leaving when they left the first time, and Tory wanting to stay with Kylie. And apparently that pissed Megan off, even though she denies it. But this is the beginning of the conflict in that car. Tory wanting to hang out with Kylie and sending Megan and Kelsey home. So she says she doesn't remember the argument. At this point, doesn't Tory say that you're having a relationship with him and Kelsey gets upset? And she says, yes, confused. Did you say to Tory, why would you say that to Kelsey? And then Kelsey said, damn, this is not the first time you backdoored me. Her answer was, I don't know. So she doesn't recall none of the parts of this conversation. These are the main parts of the conversation. And so now we have a second point of why the argument is occurring. The first point was Tory wanted to stay with Kylie. They're arguing. And then while they're arguing, Tory says to Kelsey that he's been involved with Megan behind Kelsey's back. So now a new argument is starting between Megan and Kelsey. And Megan says to the attorney, I didn't want her to know about me and Tory. What did you say to Kelsey Harris? I don't know. What did Kelsey mean when she said backdoored? This wasn't the first time you backdoored me. Her answer was, I don't know. And we find out the next day when Kelsey testified that this has happened this is the third time this has happened according to Kelsey's testimony. This isn't the first time you backdoored me, Kelsey said. And then she says that I didn't say anything to Kelsey. Well, the defense attorney then says, well, can I show you a report here that could refresh your memory? So he shows a report, and in the report it says Megan stopped the car. She didn't want Tory to know. Then Megan apparently told the police in the statement that Kelsey said that she backdoored me again in this report. And then they show it to, the defense attorney shows it to Megan while she's on the stand. She reads it to herself. And then the defense attorney asks, does this refresh your memory? And Megan says, that paper says I was in an argument, but I never said that. I was arguing with Tory. So now she's denying that the argument pivoted from her and Tory to her and Megan, which was what we learned later when Kelsey testified. Now, on the Gail King interview, you told her that you were not arguing. No, I told Gail King that I did argue. Did you? Yes. When you got out the car the first time, did Tory sit at a bus stop to get you to come back in the car? And she says no. Now apparently while they were arguing, Megan is the one that tells Quan, stop, let me get out the car. I don't want to be in here. And this happened on Sunset Boulevard, and she got out and sat at a bus stop. And according to previous statements and testimony by Kelsey, Tory got out the car, walked over to Megan, sat on the bus stop, talked to her for a few moments while Kelsey and Quan were in the car, and then eventually Megan goes back into the car with Tory. Now, the defense attorney then asked, well, did you tell prosecutors that at this point or at this time you called your manager? And she said yes. This is while she's at the bus stop. But then you also stated that you didn't have your phone and that your phone was dead. And she says, I don't remember. So then the attorney shows her a statement from a November 2020 interview that was done by LAPD Detective Stogner and prosecutor. And he reads, you said, come get me, to the manager. Did you say that? And she says, I don't remember. Now, what time was this when you got out the car on Sunset? I don't know. Well, was it 4 a.m.? I don't know. Because the shooting that eventually happens at a second location, that happens at 4:18. So did you call your manager at 4 a.m.? I could have. All right, well, let's talk about the second stop. All right, so now Megan gets back in the car, and they drive around, and they end up on this side street off Hollywood Boulevard called Nicholas Canyon Road, going up in the hills. It's a very nice neighborhood, and this is probably a street where a shooting has never happened before. But then he says, all right, let's talk about the second stop. What street was that? She says, I don't know. Was your home nearby? Yes, near Runyon Canyon. How would you get to your house? Didn't you say on direct examination that you needed to use GPS to get to your house? And then she says, no, I didn't say that. But she actually did kind of say that. Tap into the video I did on Megan's direct examination if you want an update on that. And then she says that in the car, which led up to the second time getting out, that Tory Lanez was disrespecting us. And we did learn testimony later that once they got back in the car, the argument started again, and Tory told Quan, he told his driver, pull the car over and let these hoes out. This is my car. Put these hoes out of my car. So then the defense attorney shows her a map, a Google map of Runyon Canyon. I mean, not Runyon Canyon, but of Nicholas Canyon Road. And he wants to understand where was the car at when you guys got out the second time, because this is the location where the shooting happens at. And she's looking at this map, and he asks, well, where was your car at? Was it in the middle of the street? No, she says that her car was in the middle of the street. Now, when you get out, which way do you walk? when you get out the front passenger car or front passenger seat, when you get out the car, which way do you go? Megan says, I started to walk towards the front. Now, this is very important of whether she walked towards the front of the car or whether she got out of the front seat and walked towards the back of the car. Did you tell detectives that you walked towards the rear? The report says rear. And she says, no, I walked towards the front. How long after did you hear dance, bitch? And she said, just a couple of seconds. Within a couple of seconds. So how long did it take to get from out of the front seat of the car to the front of the car where the shooting happened? Just 2 to 3 seconds. Now, you stated on direct examination if you or Kelsey ever had a gun, and you said, how could you? We had no clothes on. Didn't Tory Lanez have no shirt on? And she says, I don't know. You don't remember because you were drunk, right? No, I don't remember because it was 2 years ago. Tory Lanez. So then he asked, well, where was everyone sitting at in the car when you guys got out? Tory Lanez was sitting behind Quan in the back seat. Where was the shooting from? He was shooting from the passenger side where Kelsey was sitting. Did he get out the car? I don't know. My back was turned. You didn't see how Tory Lanez got into position? Where was Tory Lanez? On the passenger side of the car. It only took a few seconds to hear dance, bitch. So there's only 2 ways for Tory Lanez to get to that position. Either he got out the car or he crossed over Kelsey. I didn't see how he got there, but I did see him shoot me, Megan said. And then he moves on to IG posting that she made, an IG live. You posted that you were walking away facing back. And then she said, my back was turned. I was walking away facing the back. Is that what it says? And then he shows an IG post. And it says, I was walking away from facing the back. So then how do you know who shot if you were walking away and your back was facing? Because Tory Lanez said, dance, bitch. Were you still scared in the ambulance when the police came and arrested everyone? She said, yes. Why didn't you tell the truth in the hospital? She said, snitching is frowned upon in the hip-hop community, and I already said that I had stepped on glass. Were you actually scared when you got to the hospital? She said, no. Now, you said you're a private person. Yes. And then he plays a IG live video, and the defense attorney says, let's talk about snitching. And then they play a clip of her saying stuff that I'm a Southsider, I'm a real thug bitch. I didn't tell this thug bitch didn't tell. It's not the police business. The bitch police officers were rude, and this nigga was in the back. So then the defense attorney asked, so where did Tory pull the gun from? She answers, I saw him with gun in hand. My question is, where did he pull it from? I didn't say I saw him pull it out. And then they look at a report, and the report says, you saw him pull his gun out. He was on the outside car. He was outside the car, not with the feet on the ground. And this is a report that was previously taken. And then on Gail King, you said he was on the inside car with his hands out. Where was Kelsey? I didn't see Kelsey. I just see Tory. Now, I think this is an important point because we're getting conflicting statements not only from Megan but also from Kelsey on where Tory was at when the shooting occurred. Was he shooting from the front seat passenger, or was he shooting from the right seat, back seat passenger? Based on listening to Kelsey and Megan tell it, it doesn't make any sense. You get no idea of where the shooting is supposed to take place. But one thing that they both say that's consistent is that Kelsey said it looked like he was standing on something, but he was short. And Megan says that she saw him standing, but not feet on the ground. And the only thing I can figure out is there must have been a running board in their SUV. So you could open up the door and you take a step and you're kind of outside the car, but you're not touching the ground. And this is kind of what they're saying Tory Lanez is doing. Not sure if he's doing this from the front seat or if he's doing this from the rear seat. But remember, Kelsey was sitting in the rear, but then Kelsey jumps out. So either, according to them, Tory Lanez either moves over to the passenger rear side where Kelsey was sitting, or he jumps over into the front seat where Megan was sitting. The report says you saw him pull a gun out. He was outside the car, not with feet on ground, she says. And on Gail King, you said he was inside the car with hands out. So you walk. They figured out that she had walked about 8 feet based on some measurements that were made in the courtroom. And then the defense attorney says, so you walk 8 feet and then you see Tory Lanez with the gun? And then she said part of his body was inside the car and he shoots. Was the back passenger door open? And she said it had to be. Did you see anyone else? No, just your client with gun. Did you see did you and Kelsey have a fight? She says no. Did you guys have a fight outside the car? No. And then they take a short 15-minute break. Then when they come back at 15 minutes later, it starts with a sidebar with the attorneys and the judge. And then the cross-examination continues. And then the first thing was, during the lunch break, what did you discuss with the prosecutors during the lunchtime? And she said that she told them that she was being guarded and she wanted to open up more. Now, if you go back to the direct examination synopsis, there is a point where her testimony, the energy in her testimony changes, and she starts giving these long answers and very emotional responses. And apparently that was discussed between her and the prosecutors during the lunchtime break. And that's what the sidebar was about when they came back from this short break. So now the defense attorney says, I want to show you this map and I want you to explain to me where the car was. So she's looking at this map and she says, I don't even understand what I'm looking at. Well, which direction did you travel when you got out the car? Which way did you walk when you got out the car? So she starts to draw a diagram on the back of the map. And so you walk from the passenger seat to the front of the car, got shot, then went to the driveway and collapsed in the driveway. So where was Quan, the driver? She says, I don't know. Where is Tory Lanez? She says he got out and bumped Kelsey. When the defense attorney was asking her about what happened on the outside of the car, he asked her, did you and Megan fight? Tell the truth. You have immunity. What happened outside that car when you and Megan got out? Did you guys have a fight? And after asking her multiple times, she said that it was just a bump. And Megan is using the same word to describe what happened between Kelsey and Tory Lanez, that it was just a bump. So I just find that an unusual word to use when the allegations are that there's a physical altercation. Was there a physical altercation between Tory Lanez and Kelsey Harris? It's being described as a bump. And was there a physical altercation between Kelsey and Megan? And that was being described as a bump. And then the defense attorney asked, did you ever provide this information before, that there was a bump? When you spoke to the police 4 days later, were you truthful? She said yes. Why didn't you tell the police they bumped? I didn't want her name involved. Well, you've been saying her name this entire time. Did you tell the detectives that they bumped? No. On Gail King, did you say that they bumped? I don't remember. Did you tell the detective that Tory Lanez was inside the vehicle at the time of the shooting? He was half inside and half outside. Tory Lanez was on the passenger side. Did you say, at any point in time, did you say that Tory Lanez was in the back seat during the shooting? I could have. Did you tell detectives that he must have gone over Kelsey? I don't remember. Would it refresh your memory to look over a report? You stated that he had to get over Kelsey. Earlier you said you didn't know how he got there. Okay. You told Detective Scott Stogner he had to jump over to do the shooting. Now, going back to the conversation about the luggage and the suitcases that they took to Kylie's house, defense attorney asked Megan, what did you put in his car? I don't remember. Now, they show a photo. Believe it's something in the back seat, and you see a suitcase and a big bag, like a purse, a Louis Vuitton purse. And he asked, did this suitcase belong to you or Kelsey? She said it could be Kelsey's. How about the Louis Vuitton bag? Whose bag is that? She says, I'm not sure. Well, is it yours? I can't really see. And the picture is it's a dark picture. Well, do you have a black Louis Vuitton bag? He asked her. I'm not sure. Where did the bags by EJ get put in Tory's car? Where did the bags, or did the bags that were in EJ's car get put into Tory's car? She says yes. What bags were they? I don't know. Now, in the interview you gave on July 16th, that would have been 4 days later, with attorneys and Rock Nation, were you truthful? She said yes. Now, you said you didn't know you was actually shot. I don't remember saying that. You said that you didn't want to spread false information. You stated on July 16th that you didn't know you was actually shot. You also said you did not want to cooperate with the police, but then you were cooperating with the police 4 days later. You said you came forward because Tory Lanez started to post, but you spoke to the police 4 days later. Did you have a call with Rock Nation and Tory Lanez? She said no. Now, did you leave LA after the shooting? Yes. I left after I got out the hospital. I only wanted Eric in the hospital room. And Kelsey couldn't come in because of COVID-19. Now, if you listen to Kelsey Harris's version of the story, she was told by Desiree that she wasn't going to be able to go in, and they kept her out of the hospital. They kept her away from visiting Megan, and she actually never did get to see Megan. According to Megan, that was because of COVID. According to Kelsey, they were acting weird with her. And then they played the IG Live that Megan did when she had that green hair. And it's not really a good look if you watch that video. And then she explains that he was in the back seat, and from out the back seat of the car he shot me. And apparently she mentioned that in that Instagram live. Do you know when this happened? This issue of Tory Lanez posting information? And she said no. Well, you said that Tory was posting to the blogs. Have you sent these posts to the DA? And she said yes. And then they have a sidebar. They talk about, well, they're talking about these apparent posts that Megan claims that she turned over to the DA. Apparently there are no posts, but that's what she stated. Now then the defense attorney, after the sidebar, the defense attorney continues asking questions. He says, you stated that the only reason you came forward is because Tory Lanez was posting false narratives. And she said he had people posting false narratives. Well, do you have any proof of that? You said that you brought that to... you said that you thought the doctor at the hospital who was doing the surgery on her, you thought that the doctor was the police and that the female officer was a bitch. Didn't you tell the police you did not want to say who shot you because you didn't know that you were shot? And then she said no. And that was pretty much the end of cross-examination. And then there was some redirect examination from the prosecutors. Basically, they said she said that Tory had told lies on me about not getting shot, and he was turning this into a sex scandal, and people don't want to associate with me in the industry. I'm like dead. No one wants to touch me. And then she was asked by the prosecutors, was your relationship with your partner impacted by this case? And this is when we learn about her being involved with someone else. She said, since the entire shooting, I have been depressed. A lot has affected my relationship. Hearing in the media, my boyfriend has to hear this. And then they go over her statements. You made a statement on July 12th, the same day of the shooting. You made another statement 4 days later. And then you made another statement on November 2020 with Detective Stogner and the DA. You said, I remember Tory Lanez on the passenger side. In the sit-down interview you did with the DA and Detective Stogner. Then the prosecutor shows her a report and a transcript and then asks, you're not sure if it was the front seat or the back seat? And she said yes. Now, in your IG live that they played, was this the first time you ID'd the shooter? She said yes. Isn't that crazy that she never fingered Tory Lanez as the shooter until she did that Instagram live? Are you still getting negative heat, Megan? She says, yes, it's been so stressful. And then she kind of goes on a little rant here and she says, I wish I would have got shot in the head. I wish I should have been shot and killed. Do you regret coming forward? Yes. If I've known, I didn't ask for this. Maybe I should be dead. I have to watch Tory chopping up legs in the video. And she's referring to a video of a song he did called Cap. And then there's a little bit of recross. Were you upset? This is recross by the defense attorney again. Were you upset about Tory and Kylie? And she said, incorrect. She's completely denying, which has been pretty much established in this trial. I mean, this is how this whole thing started, her being upset with Tory wanting to stay with Kylie. But she said, no, that's incorrect. And then the defense attorney said, did you fight with Kelsey? She says, no. Was there any pushing? And she says, no. And that's pretty much the end of Megan's testimony during cross-examination on day 2 of the trial. And that pretty much wrapped up the rest of the day. And then we end up seeing Kelsey Harris on day 3 of the trial. You can tap into the links below. I have a synopsis of of what happened when Kelsey testified, both on cross-examination and direct. And I'll have an update on day 6 of The People versus Daystar Peterson, aka Tory Lanez. And thanks for tapping in with Street TV.